Hello and welcome to Dear Soul Auntie. My name is Zainab and I'm here with my lovely co-host Lisa. Hi Lisa.
Hello, hi everyone, we're back. It's
Yeah.
great to be
It's
back as well.
it's good to be back. We haven't done an episode for a few weeks, so it's really nice to be back. And I've got I feel like a really good topic for us to discuss today. I really wanted to talk about fear, um, division and the inner call to healing. And the reason I've chosen this topic, Lisa, is because this week I had my own little incident, you call it that.
Oh,
But I was sent something that one of the, I'm not going to name names, but just,
mm,
somebody, a leader of the world was being xenophobic.
okay.
And just that, the fact that this is happening at the moment in the world, um, was a little bit upsetting and it triggered, old wounds. And it made me think of, oh, I do a lot of healing work and I've done a lot of inner work, and it still really triggered me quite a lot. So I thought, well, this is something we should talk about for our viewers. And I think it's something at the moment, the way the landscape looks with the rise of the far right, with in England, the English Defence League, and just xenophobia really being evident now in the media, seeing it coming up to the surface, what that's bringing up for people, and how can we, what is our role in this, and actually, is there a benefit to this? Is there a spiritual, is there this, could this be a time for humanity to look at its own wounds, and could this bring about healing? So that's the topic I wanted to talk about today, Lisa.
Okay, yeah, I mean it's very topical as you mentioned. And it can be triggering and scary, especially for us as people of color, and not just for us, but just for people in general, because this rise of hatred, let's say, because that's basically what it is. If we cut to the chase, it is that very much to do with the spiritual warfare that goes on this planet, you know. So things like racism, xenophobia, all of this basically boils down to a lack of love, which is hatred. Talking about people as if they're not, we're not all the same, we're not all one. And that is the intention of um, s- you know the darkness, basically, and things that are the energy that is about keeping us in the dark. People can call it evil, people can call it the devil, people can call it whatever you want, but basically it is an energy, low vibrational energy. Yeah, this low vibrational energy is on the planet, and it's trying to keep us down and trying to keep people separated. Okay, that's the key word. So we have to understand and keep it in perspective, you know,
Hmm.
and not internalize, not feed into it, and not recognize it. Yes, we have to be aware that this is happening, number one. But I think it's important that we discuss today, Zainab, how we can keep ourselves at a high vibration. Because if we feed into these low vibrational um, ideologies, or even just get scared and feed into this fear mongering, get triggered, and I know it's not easy because we've had long history of abuse, slavery. Okay, but as I said, we need to talk about. It has to be talked about, and it has to.
Hmm.
We need to give people that acknowledgement that yes, of course, there is this energy on the planet, no doubt about it. Racism, xenophobia has been going on since day dot. So, but at the same time, we need to understand this time now is an important time on the planet to make sure that we are all keeping ourselves at a high vibrational level rather than feeding into that. But we can discuss
Hmm.
that, you know.
Yes.
But that's my view.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that, Lisa. And I also think, firstly, I just want to make it clear that people's lived experiences and people being triggered like I was, it's completely normal and to be expected, because
Yes.
often this can trigger not just your own wounds but like centuries old wounds, your ancestors' wounds, your mother's wounds, your granny's wounds, your father's wounds. Sometimes this stuff is in our DNA. So if people are triggered, it's completely to be expected, right? And understandable. But it's for us to then sit and realize that we're being triggered by our own wounds, and then that may be lead you down an avenue of doing some inner work about your fear about racism, and maybe your ancestral wounds. And maybe this is an invitation and an opening for one to do their own deeper work, and instead of that trigger being just, well, other people did it, maybe this is an invitation for you to look inward. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is, often for darkness to be dispelled, it needs to come to the surface. So we have to see we have to see the wounds before we can heal them. We can't heal what we can't see. And I think for a long time, like you say, xenophobia is not new. Racism is not new. The fact that it's open now is a sign that, the same way when things come up for us so that we can look at them and heal them. Well, collectively as humanity, this is a time where this dirty laundry is being aired so we can heal it. And actually, we cannot heal what we can't see. We cannot heal what we have pushed down and pretended wasn't there. So in a way, this is an invitation for everybody to look at their own moral compass, and then sharpen our moral compass as humanity, and ask, what is it that we stand for, and what is it that we will accept. So this can be, whilst it's painful, it can be a positive time for people to galvanize, for people to take action, for people who are inactive and thought that there wasn't really a problem. Maybe people who are not from these communities, who thought actually on the surface things look quite nice, to realize actually it's not nice, and it's hard. And for those people to mobilize, and for those people to be there for the communities that are in trouble, and to then galvanize, mobilize, and to come together and decide, hang on a minute, what is it that we stand for, and what is it that we will accept as humanity. So I feel like this is a good opportunity, because I feel like it's an opportunity for humanity to really do some healing work.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you that yes, we do need to heal these experiences, and I think that sometimes it is about recognizing that we need to not to heal that. You need to be aware that
That's right.
this is happening. We all know there's hatred in the planet. Okay, what can we actually do? What can you do as an individual, who's feeling triggered by the things that you hear in the news, the things that are happening around you, and a lot of the hatred and stuff that you see on social media, um, and so on. What can we actually do as individuals? To me, that's the key, because sometimes, well, a lot of the time, if we as individuals come together as a collective to say, as we've done in the past, through civil rights
Hmm.
movements in the States, things that have happened in Africa as well, to do with, a lot of the evilness that was going on there. People came together, people stood up and said, no, we're not accepting this anymore. And things changed,
Hmm.
okay, and things got better, okay. And as I was saying to you previously, things get better because, as we said, the light was being shone to say, this is what's happening. We've got people being separated, and that is exactly what the low vibrational energies. I'm going to call them that rather than say white, black, or whatever. It's not about
Hmm.
that. What it's about is that these low vibrational energies want to keep people separated. Okay, but when people come together and stand up and say, you know what, enough is enough. We need to. This needs to stop, and things need to change. That is the way of making a difference. Okay,
Hmm.
so now we're in a stage where, okay, we know that there's laws have been brought in, and things have changed to a certain level, but what you're finding is, okay, that low vibrational energy is still trying to drag us all back down and say, you know what, um, that person's still not as good as, that race is still not as good as that race. You know what that race has done to that race, and that's basically feeding again into it. So as I was saying in the beginning, how can we as individuals heal and feel better about things that are happening? The reason why it's been blown up in the news and people are starting to, because they're still trying to make people feel separated and feel scared and feel, isolated. Okay, but that's not the real truth of what's really happening. What's happening is the light again is being shined to open up, the open it out into the light. All of the things, and even, not even things to do with xenophobia as well, as other things, sex trafficking, and all of that stuff that's been going on with the royal family. The light has been shining on them to open it onto those people to say, look, these are the people that have been doing this. These are the people. So as you can see, it's not just as simple to say, okay, well, I don't want to be triggered by. The reason why you're being triggered is because, unfortunately, you're actually identifying with the fear that they're portraying. You know, you're feeding into it, and the more you feed into it, the bigger it gets. Whereas if you see it for what it is, be aware that actually, you know something, I want to, I want to feed, and us as individuals, we want to feed into the light now. We don't want to feed into the darkness anymore, because the darkness is the low vibrations, the fears, the lack of love, the lack of joy. All of that um, is not moving us forward, and it's actually feeding the energy of separation. So now is a time where we need to feed into the energy of unity, just like back in the days when civil rights and other things that were happening, when people said, no, we don't want apartheid, we don't want this, we don't want that. That's exactly what they did. They actually stood up and fed into the light. You know what I mean? They didn't feed into, okay, well, if you're going to kill black people, then we're going to kill white people. That's not what happened in South Africa. They actually said, no, we're not actually feeding into that hatred. We want everybody to be free, everybody to feel like they can live in this country and feel. Obviously, there was always, elements that didn't want that, but the majority of the people wanted peace for everyone. So this is what I'm saying to you. It is about feeding into that higher vibrational energy all the time. Because if you try and say, right, oh, okay, I'm going to listen to that, I'm going to, be arguing with people online who are racist, you're wasting your time. You will constantly, that's not who we need to join in with. We need to be joining with people who want to raise the vibration. You need to join with people who are open minded, who want to show love, who want unity,
Hmm.
and use that energy to fuel, to um, kill the fire of low vibrations. That's the only way forward. But I'm not trying to say that people who are triggered and who have lived experiences of racism, because I'm a black woman and I've
Hmm.
got lived experience of racism as well. But we need to keep it to be aware of what it actually means, you know, um, and understand that we are actually all one. And but these masks that we all wear, black, white, woman, man, this, that, the other, it's just part of this experiment of being on this planet, you know, the separation, and the task for us is to come back as one. So yeah, I think. What do you think, Zainab? Do you think that I've simplified it too much, or
Um, I think it all makes perfect sense. I just think it's maybe a little bit harder to do in reality. Sometimes it's you can some things make perfect sense intellectually, but it can be harder to practice. Um, that's my opinion. And I think if we're looking at the bigger picture, I would say that humanity, I can't think of a time where humanity was in a better position morally. For there was, I can't think of a better time personally for black people, for gay people, for women.
yeah,
I can't think of a time where there was less xenophobia, less racism, but at the same time, it's more visible. So it feels like things are getting better overall, but it looks, if you just look at the news, it could look like things are
yeah,
just terrible. And again, the news, as we know, and we've discussed it in past episodes, Lisa, the news will just give you the doom and the gloom and the ugly. And the reality is that's not how the world is. There's lots of amazing people doing amazing work. And things, just personally from my own perspective, in my own lifetime, living in London as a black person, as a refugee, as a Muslim woman, have improved. My nieces, for example, today they turn the TV on and there's cartoons with like there's one cartoon on the BBC. I don't know what it's called, but there's a Caribbean grandmother and her daughter who and her granddaughter, and they cook. And the other day they were making ackee and saltfish, and that would have been wild for me to ever see when I was her age. She's 2 years old or 3 years old watching this, and it's so there is so my nieces will get racism probably, however it won't be to the same degree. I didn't have anyone that looked like me on the
yeah,
TV, in the papers, in the magazines. Just there was no one. So whilst it can feel like, if you just look at the news and just the doom scrolling, it can look horrific. The truth is, it's never been better. Am I saying that we're perfect and we're done, we're cooked? No, of course not. We came from, the standard for humanity was pretty low. It wasn't that long ago we had slaves. It wasn't that long ago there was the Holocaust. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
each generation there's a little bit of progress, a little bit of progress, and the progress isn't always linear. Sometimes we're going to take two steps forward and one step back, and that's also okay. But ultimately, I feel like we're going in the right direction. But if you don't look at the bigger picture, you can, and you just concentrate on what you see on the TV and what you see on social media, then you can really, get sucked into this low vibration. And because xenophobia, racism all just comes down to fear. Fear of the other, fear of losing power, just low vibration emotions. And actually, if you are then doom scrolling or watching these shows and watching the news and then discussing it amongst yourselves, you are also just getting sucked in. So it what you said made perfect sense, but it's just sometimes it's a little bit hard to do, and I completely understand that. But it's just the little things. What is it that we can do on a
yeah,
day-to-day basis? Don't doom scroll, right? Look at the bigger picture. If it helps you, look and see what the good things in the world that are happening. Look and see what positive things, loads of positive things in the world. That doesn't make the news ever, 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 right? So overall, I think we're making progress, but it can be quite alarming if you spend your days just looking at social media and watching the news, because the job of the news is to sell, to get clicks, to get likes, to get subscribers, and they do that by fear mongering. And fear mongering is sensational. It demands attention. It's worrisome, and people react to it, and that's what they want. They want that reactivity. So certainly to help yourself, I think definitely do less of the scary online. Absolutely.
yeah. That's right. Yeah, I'm obviously talking at a very high level in terms of looking at the bigger picture, you know. But we want to try and find sorry, excuse me, we want to find ways that, and this is what I was trying to say, is find ways that individuals can
Mm.
change their reality on a day-to-day basis. If you feel triggered by things that you're seeing out in the news, okay, yes, you can obviously switch off, but you
Mm.
can also be aware of who you really are. You know, once you understand who you really are and your purpose in this world, or for us as a human race, then you get it, because you know that we are here to, kind of work the puzzle. It is a puzzle that we're working out right now. Um, and we're coming through so much darkness into a lighter period. We've come through so much density to a time where, we're going back to who we actually will be going back to who we actually are, connecting more to that, source. So I think once you understand that, and then all of this stuff will kind of, it won't trigger you, because you realize that actually I am part of, something that's so magnificent, whether you want to call it the universe, God, or whatever it is. And you can start to feel, because that's what it's all about, feeling really powerful, really joyous, and full of love. A lot of these things kind of fall away because you're not tuned into that. It's like you're unplugging yourself. I keep saying that I'm unplugged.
Yeah.
I'm actually unplugged from the matrix. The matrix doesn't feed me, because what the matrix is feeding me is, if it was feeding me, it would be feeding me fear. It would be feeding me, the restrictions of a physical world. When you unplug from that, you free your mind, you free yourself from believing all of these lies that have been told for your whole life. You start to understand that actually you don't have to fit into the label of a black woman or a white woman or a this or a that or whatever. Basically all those labels are all lies. So then you don't get triggered, because you realize that, the history, your history, on in this life or in previous lives or whatever, is for you to basically work through this puzzle and come out at the other end, which is, I suppose you could say, it sounds really hard to do and everything else, but I think it's actually, it's not easy, but it's very simple. So as we said, as we've always said on this show, there are things that you can do. The meditations, the being in nature, the being present, all of that are your tools to not be triggered and stay in a peaceful place as much as you can. Um, Obviously, there's other, we have to live in this world, and we have to go about our daily lives, and we have to, interact with people and everything. So that's where the difficulty comes in, because, if you meet people who are not awake, they will start to moan and complain and tell you about things that are going on, and oh my God, did you see this? What do you do then?
Are
What,
you, well, sorry, I didn't realize it. I thought you weren't asking. Were you asking me what
yeah,
would we do? Yeah, 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 yeah.
trying to
Sorry.
keep it realistic, that
Yes,
yes, when you're
yes,
at home and you're in your own
yeah,
bubble, and you're listening to your own meditate, you're doing your own meditations, and you are, in this beautiful place, fantastic. But the minute you get on the phone to someone, or you go out and meet friends, or you're in a different environment, you start getting bombarded with,
yes.
the worldly things that trying to pull you down. What do we
Mhm.
do then?
I think it's actually quite important to put yourself in those situations because, like you say, for a long time during my healing periods, I spent a lot of time on my own. I'd go to work, but I'd spend a few years really like a recluse at home on my own. And it was lovely. And I could not partake in it. Like you said, unplug, it was excellent. But when I went back out into the world, it was initially it was quite hard for me to like, how do you, people are complaining and moaning, complaining, then I would tell them not to complain, and they would be like, oh, but now I've learned to allow people to complain, but I don't partake in it. So for example, it's just taken me time, taken me my patients, for example, they're really good. They come in, they're really good teachers, I say. They'll come in and let's say it's a rainy day, they'll be like, oh gosh, oh, it's raining again. I'll be like, oh, well, and then I kind of just move the conversation along. And, or if they really insist on complaining about the rain, then I tell them, we need rain. We need rain for the green, for the trees, for the grass, for whatever. And then I move it along, but it's taken me time. So in a way, you almost need that training to learn how to dodge the bullets, as it were. Like if you're not out there and if you're not talking to people, you're gonna feel like but actually the reality is how can you live on this earth knowing that you are a spiritual being having human experience and interacting with others that maybe are not awake, and you learn by spending time with people. And it's almost, for me, it was a trial and error. It's just taken time to be able to allow people to be and also meet people where they are, understand that people are not where I am, and that's okay, but I don't also need to partake in it. So it's a balance, a fine balance that I've learned and I'm still learning to navigate, but through practice. So for me, being in amongst it has been really helpful.
Yeah, exactly. So this also relates to what we were talking about in terms of the fear mongering, the things that are on TV. That you have to see it through. It's kind of seeing everything from a different lens. You know, you've got the normal lens where everyone else is looking through and saying, "Oh my God, it's chaos, it's this, it's that." But we're trying to put in, you work in optometry, you look at people's eyes, don't you? So you
Yes.
know that you can put in different lenses and you get a different vision,
Hmm.
You can change the lens and
Yes.
oh yeah, that's better. You can change it
Yes.
again and it's
Yes.
like, oh no, that's not very good. Change it again, oh yeah, that's much better. Yeah, so that's kind of like what we have to do in our
Hmm.
lives. Like,
Yes.
what lens are you looking through? Are you looking through rose-colored glasses where you just everything is fantastic? There's no badness going on because that's the lens you're looking through. As far as you're concerned, everything is rosy. What are you talking about? I'm feeling fantastic. What? That's what we're doing. You know, basically, we are putting on shields basically when we're out there or living our lives because we know that the reality is of who we are. Okay, so we're choosing, and it is a choice to put in different lenses and go about our day in that bubble, unplugged. Nothing can really waver us because all of the other stuff is just not, it's just not real. It's just part of this game that everyone's playing, trying to outdo each other when really there's no outdoing to be done. You just need to stay in peace. And so when you're using those lenses, it's giving you that protection in a sense, that shield to know that, okay, none of this actually is real. None of this is really affecting me. The fact that, you know, someone's being racist on TV or on Twitter or it doesn't matter because at the end of the day they are playing their part in trying to keep everything the status quo. Well, we know that that's impossible because light is going to win at the end of the day or is already winning, so they can do what they want. So it's just having that awareness, I think, and on a day-to-day basis, as I said, what do you do when you're in that environment? Change your lens. It doesn't mean
No.
you have to speak out or do anything. It just means that you maintain your peace. That's what it's about, isn't it? You don't want to be affected. You don't want to be triggered. If you don't want to be triggered, then you need to change your lens.
Mm.
Yes, we've all had lived experiences. You know, I was chased by, when I was 5 years old, I was chased by racists with dogs, you know, set on us, basically.
Yes.
And I've been traumatized for years that I don't like dogs. So, you know, I'm now putting on a different lens when I see a dog coming towards me.
Mm.
I don't feed into that fear anymore. I'm changing my lens. I'm recognizing, okay, yeah, that happened years and years ago. But right now, nothing can actually hurt me or do anything to me, whether it's a dog or another person or whatever it is, because my lens has now changed to this view. This is a different view. Not trying to negate anyone's traumatic experiences, let alone my own, because I had them as well.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I've had many, but I'm choosing to use a different lens so that, you know, I can actually go about my day and my peace is not, I'm not triggered in any way by anything because that is going to drag me back down. So, what do you think to that,
Yeah.
Zara?
I
Do you
mean,
think that is something that is possible for? I mean, I that's something that I do. You know, that's my own personal choice in how I deal with my own trauma. Um,
um,
so I don't know what your
yeah, I would say I mostly agree. I would also say depending on where everyone's at a different stage, right? So just depending on where we're at. So if you're a viewer who has done some healing work, who's more awake, who can see the bigger picture, sure, it all makes perfect sense. If you're somebody who maybe isn't quite there yet and the triggering can really take you down, then it's worth looking into that. So it's basically an invitation to do some healing work on the trigger. I never look at triggers as a negative thing. I'm like, trigger me, I dare you, kind of thing. You know, I want to be triggered. It's good because it shows me where are my blind spots. Where do I have to do more inner work? Where do I have to accept more? Where do I have to heal more? Right. So I never think of triggers as a negative thing. I just think of it, like I said, as something that I've missed that I need to look into. So I would invite anyone who is getting triggered to use that. Oh, sorry about that. I would invite anybody who is being triggered to use that same.
oh, okay.
I would invite anybody who is being triggered to use this opportunity to look into why they're being triggered, what's going on, and to use it as an opportunity to heal. Because, like I said, for me, I use any triggering situation as a invitation to look inward, to see where my blind spots are, and to basically heal more. So I think you can look at it a trigger as a negative thing, but often it can very well be what you need to do the next part of your healing. So I think it's positive.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with that as well. You know, nobody's saying that we should just, you know, bury our heads in the sand and not realize that what we need as individuals to help us to heal and grow and develop. You know, definitely we should always, you know, focus on um, healing ourselves, any psychological scars and things like that. And sometimes it is about, you know, looking forward rather than back. Yes, we look back and we recognize what has traumatized us, what has caused this, and you know, many people go to counseling or other types of healing modalities, you know, to help deal with whatever's happened in the past. Okay, then there comes a point where you want to focus forwards, because looking back can only do so much. Obviously, you have to, you know, deal with whatever's happened in the past, and recognize it and be aware of it and um, move forward. I think part of what I was talking about is on a general level dealing with um, things that are going on in society that are represented as um, bad news, whether it's through social media or whatever, and how to not feed into that, because the more focus we put up with that and feed into it, more it grows. It's like anything, isn't it? You know, you advertise something that's bad and giving it attention actually it gives it more fuel. It's fueling the fire more and more and more. You take away the you take away the heat from a fire. What do you have? Nothing, because it dies. So that's it's on that kind of level.
Mm-hmm.
But as individuals, yes, 100%, we need to understand ourselves, what we're going through, work our own puzzle to know that okay, this has happened, and I'm really going to heal myself, understand what's gone on, and move forward. That is the best thing you could do for yourself, in whatever way that works for you.
Yeah.
Um, so, kind of going back to our original question that you had from someone about how do we deal with being triggered, which we've had conversations about in the past, haven't we? About being triggered. What does it mean? Is it a blessing in disguise? And I think we recognise that it is.
Mm-hmm.
We see it for what it is, and we take it on board to say that okay, so there's a part of me that needs to heal.
Yes. Yeah. I think we've quite covered this topic quite well, Lisa, and talk. I guess this topic is like you said, it brings in together other topics that we've discussed about social media, about being triggered, and I guess it's sort of bringing everything together and using it now in this time when it's needed. um so thank you so much for listening. It's been a really, really interesting and insightful episode,
Yeah.
and we'll see you again soon. Thanks, Lisa, that's been really interesting.
Oh, it's been fantastic. Yeah. So please like, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll be back. We won't be so far away as we've been in the past.
No.
We'll just try and stay contacted with you guys as much as possible, and let us know. Give us your feedback. Love to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Bye bye. Bye.